Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Do You Believe It? January 13th, 2021 podcast. It's almost a year since we've been meeting like this every Wednesday morning. And the feedback has been hugely kind and supportive. So I really appreciate it because I tell you, you folks and my Monday evening hoarding support group are the highlights practically of my whole week. So take care. I think today we're going to be able to wrap up the information from, where did that darn book go? Here it is. Yes or No, The Guide to Better Decisions by Dr. Spencer Johnson. Okay, so it's not solely his work, but I've taken segments or snippets out of it that really reinforce and underline my message to you for overcoming barriers and dealing with our vulnerabilities. We all have them, all right? Nothing wrong if you've got a vulnerability and you're tripping over it, that you're like, welcome to the human race. But the important thing is to get back up and move forward in the direction you want to go, not to be determined by that barrier, okay? That's not your identity and it isn't your destiny. And I think his really elegant, simple message, it's so simple that it's wise, all right? And really usable, really usable, is why I decided to devote two podcasts to this. The next session next week, I've been buying Amazon books for, producing how to incorporate wisdom from other experts with my experience and applying it to hoarding. And one of the messages that I hear really significantly is not feeling good enough. Just that sense of our worthiness, with the interface of the fact that we are all flawed, imperfect human beings, just the way we're supposed to be. That's normal. And our life's work is to put those vulnerabilities in order that we can overcome them and reach a higher level of satisfaction and joy and happiness and productivity and contribution to other people through the suffering and the hard work that we've done on ourselves. We become a kinder, more wise, supportive, less judgmental, supportive group of people. All right, and that's a big plus. But we have to bump our head royally and be humbled by it, and then overcome to the best of our ability to be part of that support group for so many people who are around you, who you could be that wise, experienced, kind, humble servant to support them. So today we're going to continue about making better decisions more easily. And as I said, we're going to use snippets from Dr. Johnson's book. For new people joining today, I just want you to understand that this information that Dr. Johnson produced in this book and many of his others, he uses a model of forming it in the form of a story. All right. And I will actually read segments because I can't say it more elegantly or stronger than he did in the book. And the other thing too, I would suggest, I don't mean to pitch the book, and certainly I don't get anything out of you buying it as a resource or getting it from the library and really drilling down on it. It's a great little reference guide, okay? I got mine on Amazon, and I know they're also available on Alibris, ALBRIS. I paid $8 for a brand new hard copy, all right? Now, you can also get ones that are used that have other people's notes in the corner, in the margins rather, which might be interesting. some of these strategies, together with the work I do, that we are doing together on hoarding, I really believe will lighten the pressure you feel and the tyranny of perfectionism when it comes to making the decisions you need to make. The fact is, we can never have all of the information that would make us comfortable, and that and we can't always have everything that we even possibly need in order to make that better decision. In the pursuit of the ideal decision, what undermines many people is that insecurity, the feeling that we're making a poor decision and that the cost to us, that fear-based cost, is too much, that we just kind of freeze. We go into distraction or something else. All right. So he knew that sometimes he was decisive, Dr. Johnson, and the character in his book. And that made him feel, this character, uncertain. I think the character is kind of an outward manifestation of the experiences Dr. Johnson was having with himself, and that we all have at some time, part of the human condition. But what happens is that we have this driving need, like somehow we're on the edge of an abyss if we actually make a mistake. Some of the mistakes, I don't know about you folks, but some of the mistakes I've made in life have taught me the most important lessons. And they've taught me what I want to do instead, but they've also taught me really firmly, I'm not sure what I'd do again in that situation for sure, but I sure know I wouldn't do that. All right, so it kind of supports and guides us from both sides. You don't need to have the perfect answer, all right, in order to move forward. So the young man is going on this hike, all right, just to orient people who weren't with us last week and haven't listened to last week's podcast. And he meets an older man who is meant to be there, who is actually the guide of this hike. And the older man says, "Hi, I'm your guide." And he asks the young man, "Why have you come on this hike?" So this isn't about a hike. This is about you asking yourself, why do I want a change? Why do I want this goal that I think, pretty sure, but I think I want to make? And the young man answered, "I want to learn how to make better decisions. In fact, I want to learn how to make the best decision." Because nothing less than the best is good enough, right? Not so. The guide said, and I know for those of us who were here last week, this is a little bit of a recap. Never hurts to recap, I think. Puts the message in its entirety. The guide said, "Perhaps you do not always need to make the best decision for things to get better, because most big things don't have a turnover overnight or in some one moment reveal, all right? It goes by better and better and better incrementally, right? So the guide says, for things to get better, we only really need to make better decisions. Perhaps like the rest of us, you'll find that if you just keep making, and I offer this to you, making better decisions, eventually you'll do really well. I mean, a better decision than we would have made if we'd not asked ourselves a couple of valuable questions. Hold on to your seat, people, because this is where things get really practical. Perhaps you feel that if you're indecisive, making half decisions, the ones you feel, may not be good enough, and that maybe if you try this by using a reliable system of doing two things, using our heads and consulting our hearts, to soon arrive at a better decision. Slide aside. If you're working from Conquer the Clutter strategies to identify, manage, and overcome hoarding, soon to be available in audiobook. This, I didn't even know about Dr. Johnson's work. This is what I'm describing in Elaine's scaling process, that sorting chapter. All right, you do the same thing with your things. So these two things relate. So when you hear this information, go back to the chapter on sorting and scaling to make decisions. That I think it's in the Take Back Your Life chapter, and then apply it there and see how that translates in real terms to piles and pathways. So by using this reliable system of doing only two things, using our heads and then consulting our hearts, we do arrive at a better decision, certainly one that's more us today moving forward. And then all we do to the question we pose in that decision is we answer yes or no. There are no maybes, there are no sort ofs, yes or no, all right? If you don't know what to do you know what not to do? The guide said, you must simply stop doing whatever you're doing if you're not certain enough. If you stop a poor decision and just create that void, all right, that void in yourself, what I call putting yourself on pause. Stay open. Okay, you can fill it with something better. You can't do that when you're committed to the intersection of a poor decision that you kind of know you're not feeling good about it. Okay, you're not feeling certain enough. Even if you're afraid that if you gave up what you have, all right, many people find that they're afraid they won't find anything better. So they allow themselves to be satisfied and to settle for half decisions and half resolutions and half of what they really need. And the guide said to the young man, you know what? That's not an uncommon thing. It takes courage to let go of what's familiar and comfortable. But in reality, it's actually a safer move and a more reliable way to get better results. You don't know what to do moving forward in that decision? Put yourself on pause. Just stop moving forward with the decision that you really aren't comfortable with. Put yourself on pause, okay? And at least you limit the damage. You limit your commitment to the path to know where you really want to go, all right? When what's not working for you is finally, all right, finding your own way out, you're then free to find something better. And what happens is once you go on pause and you leave yourself open to the possibilities, like I did that day driving home when I said, somebody up there, send me something. All right, send me something. I became aware, you will become aware of the positives, that you're so locked into the problem and overcoming that problem, okay, that you don't leave yourself open to the options and the possibilities that are right there for the having. That's what I learned that day. And you know what? I wasn't a spring chicken when I learned it. But that day, I was in a really, really low situation due to grief. And I really needed support. I really needed something to help me. And I guess that really just remaining comfortable with wherever I want to go. I don't want to stay here. I don't want to be in this mind frame. I need to move forward. How do I do that? And I asked for help. And there was that sunrise. All right. What does it take for you when you go on pause to remain open and available for the options, the other options? That day, my option was take a deep breath, Elaine. Just let this very natural experience kind of give you a little bit of a boost, and that'll help you over the hurdle of today. Okay? Those options, those other opportunities, they're out there. You're not going to find them with blinders on, just slugging through what's not working. So why do we keep doing what we know doesn't work? The guide said, although it's often dangerous, we feel safer if we don't change what's familiar. It's a negative, uncomfortable, not very satisfying, familiar. You know what's really warm, and steamy? You don't want to stay in it, right? Eventually, the ineffective but familiar becomes accepted in the life decisions people make. You get used to it. Well, you know what? It's better than taking a chance. No, it's not. The yes-no system is a two-part journey, a practical question and a private one that fits just for you, just like Elaine's scaling process. And then we make our decision. We make our better decision. Are we promising it will be a perfect decision? Perfection lasts the extent of the lifespan of a fruit fly. All right, so don't hang on to perfection because it isn't hanging around for very long. Not long enough to do anything useful with it. Not long enough for you to be wise and develop experience. A little humility is okay. The guide said, I use my head by asking myself a practical question, and then I consult my heart by asking myself that private question. Then after I listen to myself and others that I trust who have experience, or maybe they're experts at something, I make a better decision, and then I actually act on it in the best way that I can figure out at that moment. Dollars to donuts, everyone. It's going to be a whole lot better than you would have made a decision like this out of fear and limitation. Remember this, take this one to the bank, write it down. A mistake is never a flaw in the person. It's a flaw in the system of thinking that you're using. It's about the way you're thinking about it. All right, it's the meaning you're applying to it. In the absence of that practical, what do I need? Your heart, then, and what fits for me today moving forward? That yields the better decision. A continuation and repeated ones of those kinds of decisions will lead you on a path a whole lot better than anything you formulate as an alternative. Here's the thing though. Each of those questions, the head question and the heart question, have three ideas, three principles embedded in them. More often though, you ask, the more often, that you ask the head question, the practical question, and then run it by your heart, the faster and easier it becomes. That becomes your default system. You can get pretty good at it. And you eliminate, you don't allow yourself to be satisfied and distracted by the fear and the insecurity of oh, I don't know, what if, all right? So those three principles are, am I meeting the real need? The real need. Am I informing myself of options and thinking it through? And his companion said, ask yourself now, are you using your head in this insecure decision you have to? And the young man in the story answered, like many of us. Some of us say maybe. He said sort of. And his companion questioned him a little bit further. Here's the third question. Would it help you move more if you could answer yes or no? Because sort of or maybe, that's not an answer. That's a non-answer. That's avoidance. You can stop moving in the direction of a poor decision or a decision you're not clear about enough. But by staying in the non-answer, you're nowhere. That's not the same thing. Look closer at the 3 ideas embedded in the first question. Am I meeting the real need? Have I looked around and asked to inform myself of other options by talking, running it by, not being guided by, they don't give you the answer, other people who maybe are experts in the field, or they've had a lot of experience, and then kind of taking that back, putting it out on the table to consider for how well that fits for you today moving forward. And the third question is, and then with that information, the head question, what is the real need? What are a whole lot of options, some of which will work for me, could work for me, some of which just aren't me, that's somebody else's experience. I kind of drill down, digest, work out scenarios, and I think it through. Meet the real need, get more information, facts from other people's actual experience, people you trust, and people who have not repeated the same mistake over and over and over and over and over and have a lot of experience doing that. That's not who you want to talk to, all right? Or people who are experts in the field who can simplify the process for you. And the third question is, then you think it through. Who are you today moving forward to your goal, not their goal? Okay. As you answer no to a question, that's okay. Because what that tells you is, I need to pay more attention to this. That's okay. Knowing you need to pay more attention to something that's not clear, that's positive. Most of us set out and go and get what we want. What we want, that wasn't the question. The question was, what is the real need? You know my analogy in the book of you're a person at sea in a boat, all right? Sea, salt water. And you ran out of water, or you didn't bring enough, or you didn't bring any. And you're thirsty. You need hydration. Okay, you're getting baked by the sun, bobbing out there, lost at sea, which is kind of the way you feel sometimes with decisions that are harder to make. Okay, you need water. You're surrounded by water, but is that the type you need? That's the same thing we do when we settle for retail therapy, or we hold on to so much of what we don't need because we haven't really developed comfort or understanding of how we can make decisions to simplify what's around us. We're drinking the salt water then. It's water, but it's not what you need. It's not the real need. How are you today with your piles and pathways? Settling for what is kind of the best you think you can do. All right? But you haven't really challenged yourself. You haven't really asked yourself, what is the real need? What other options are there? Today's material, Conquer the Clutter, the book, all right? Other resources like this, like the other books that I sometimes, you can get them at the library, you don't have to buy them, all right? That's getting more information, chewing down on it. How can I make this me? And then thinking it through to the better decision you can make. Okay. Usually when we settle for what we want, it's usually because we don't know. We haven't spent the time or the work figuring out what do we really need. So we go off in the wrong direction. We either acquire more, we stay in a position of fear, being afraid to make the wrong decision, afraid we'll regret it. You will regret it. Folks, today, I have to tell you, I sit here a little sadder because, You know that dining room table set that I've been telling you about? Well, I had a really beautiful antique, true antique dressing table, just gorgeous, that somebody gifted to me because I was supposed to be able to hand it on to my daughter who's on the other coast. It wouldn't arrive in one piece. And I really chewed down on it. I tried to find every possible use. I don't hoard, but these are human experiences, all right? Day before yesterday, I sent it to the Rebound store, which is like Habitat for Humanity. I'm still feeling a little icky about it because I wasn't going to be able to use it, and I wasn't going to be able to keep my word to make sure it got passed down to my daughter. And you know what? The fellow at the Rebound store, when it arrived, he's actually going to put a thank you in his newsletter, because that's going to get real money. It's going to really help that community. Lanark County is a very diverse community. And I know this is an aside, but just to tell you, everybody has to do this. It isn't just you. And am I 100% happy about it? Is this like a joyful moment? No, it's not a joyful moment, but I know it's right. I know it was the right decision. I know that. And now, like yourself, I just have to grieve a little that this beautiful thing that I loved had to go. It was a 1, 2, 3. It was just never going to work in our downsized bungalow. Couldn't make it work. Tried really hard. Not going to work. Okay? You're not alone. You're not alone. That for me, and I tell you that story because I struggled with that. I looked for lots of other options, none of which worked out well enough to meet the need. And now I too, I'm with you. I'm doing a little grieving myself right now. It's like I've said goodbye to an old friend. So you're not alone. It's very human what you're feeling. So when you go after what you want rather than what you need, all right, you're actually headed down a path that is a distraction. There's never going to be enough of it. So what's the difference between a want and a need? A need is a necessity, okay? A want is just an attractive, available distraction that we pursue. But you know what happens later on? We find it unfulfilling, so we need even more. In fact, it'll never fill you. It will never meet the need. The need is endless, all right? And it's certainly a want when it's a substitute for a need is never nurturing, all right? A need is what a situation requires. It nurtures you. The trouble is that the person who goes down that other path, if they feel comfortable with distraction, if they've developed that comfort level, they still feel kind of not quite right. And they have to believe they're making it more difficult by not just following a simple, congruent process. Congruent being it fits for them, all right? They start overthinking it, and they think, oh, it has to be far more complicated than this. You don't have to overthink it. The truth is really very simple, and you know it. You know it when you feel it. You know it. All right, in your heart of soul, does it make you happy all the time? Not all the time. I'm evidence of that this week, and probably for a few weeks to come. Focusing means seeing a vision. You got to focus on it to know what the outcome, the end effect of meeting the need is. You got to really focus on it, all right? Because that's the only way to form the vision of what you really, really need, and in enough detail that you can practically see yourself achieving it. You can see what that end result is going to look and feel like. When you focus on the real need by saying, you do it by saying no to everything else. Every time I was offered another option on that dressing table, okay, I really wanted it to work. Do you know what? I knew in my heart that wasn't the right answer. That just wasn't the right thing to do. And so while I'm unhappy right now, a little sad, I know I've got a better result. I know I've got a good enough result. I know it's the right thing. So how can I tell the difference between what I want and what I need? Here's the key. Dr. Johnson's wisdom. To see what you merely want, write this down. Ask yourself, what do I wish I could do? To see what you really need, ask yourself, looking back on this, what would I like to have done? You answer those two questions, right? You're on the path to wisdom. You're on the path to progress. One better decision at a time. It's that simple. Don't get distracted by chasing every little bright and shiny thing, every other sort of thing that comes in that distracts you and takes away from the 15 minutes every single day that you make yourself do in order to develop that skill of self-regulating, because there are going to be endless distractions. And you can even stick handle the logic that actually they're urgent. They probably question yourself how urgent they are to get distracted from what is a significant goal that gets you to something that brings you here looking for answers, right? It may not stack up as urgent, as urgent. So the young man decided if he could only do one thing well, maybe you're asking yourself that question. What does it need to be? So ask yourself, am I meeting the real need? Am I informing myself of other options by putting myself on pause, staying open and available to facts, better information? Good information in is good product out. Bad information in or no information in is the same old, same old, same old. Is that what you want? Am I thinking it through so it fits for me? This is not a formula. That last step is really important. It needs to be translated to each and every one of you. Okay, your need. It's your need, meeting the real need. Okay, by seeing the vision of needed results in such a significant, rich way. It's one of the best ways. You can't hit a target if you don't know what the target looks like and feels like. All right? Don't settle for a target that isn't your real need. Let's go for the real needs first. You will be so much happier. You will be have so much more self-esteem and self-respect for yourself, which you're worthy of anyway. Don't waste it on false starts. Wants are wishes. Needs are necessities. Needs are essential for success and fulfillment. There will never be enough wishes and wants to help you succeed or make you feel fulfilled. It just won't. They're fool's gold. Don't settle for them. To see what I merely want, I ask myself, what do I want to do now? I want to watch Netflix. I want to read that book. I want to see what's really needed for each one of us. I ask myself, when that little period is finished or the day ends, I ask myself, what would I like to have done? What do I wish I had done? What would I like to have done? That's the fundamental difference. And what do I really need for this decision? Remember, I've been talking one podcast after another. 3 questions. What do I need? Where is it? And how do I get enough of it to make the difference I need? 3 questions. He's got a slightly different lineup of 3 questions. Both are really good and simple. Don't cheat yourself out by following some other thought pattern. Get what you need. Am I saying yes to only what meets the real need and no to everything else? That's the easiest, least exhausting way to get there. Often there are several options, but you won't be aware of any of them, all right? Unless you leave yourself open and available. When you hear yourself saying, I have no other choice, okay, I'm too tired, anybody can do anything for 15 minutes. Set the timer, all right? It'll be the best 15 minutes you ever spent because it yields growth. It builds a skill that'll get you there. In our fear-frozen minds, when we do that, I've got no other choice. I've got no other choice. My hands are tied. Actually, that is so seldom true, it's not even worth considering. That's really just almost certainly a sign of our fear, and it paralyzes us. It makes us go off in search of that distraction, that bright and shiny thing, that thing that, oh yeah, I forgot. I need to do that first. Okay, I can't actually sort. I need to clean the whole area first. It's simple. It's really very simple. Keep it simple. So remember, I say over and over and over again, even simpler than this message. When you feel challenged, okay, when you feel immobilized, in indecision, never let yourself go to fear. Stop. Put yourself on pause and go to fact. Never go to fear. Always go to fact. Put yourself on pause. Take a deep breath. And look for the best information available. What are the facts? All right, what are the facts? And deal from fact. So, main principles to live by, according to Dr. Johnson's work. First, I realize I probably have several options that I'm not aware of. Pause, leave yourself open and available. As I gather the needed information, I become more aware of my options. That's a good thing. I choose the option that meets the real need or as close as possible to it. Information is a collection of facts as well as feelings. It's got to fit for you. Every one of you may have a slightly different twist on it, depending on your unique need. That is what is real. That is what really is, and how people feel about it in the here and now. How do you feel about those facts? Which basically is how do they fit for you? So I gather the information, the needed information. I observe it. Or if someone gives me the information, I don't take it on gospel. Nobody else gives me the answer. All right. I verify it. You know how I verify it? How many people who know a lot more about it than I do, or who have had a lot more experience, are saying that or something pretty close to it? That's how I verify it. Do I have the information I need? Who has it? Somebody has it. Where is it? What's the best way to get it? This is just paraphrase. Johnson is actually paraphrasing Elaine Birchall. I am so honored. And have I verified it for myself? Got to verify it. Got to fit for you. As I gather the needed information, what do I see my options are? What are they becoming? Am I actually informing myself of options? Yeah, you probably are. Some of which you'll discard. Some of which you'll put down to, like, what do they call it? The short list. Okay, work from a short list. Then use your head by asking yourself the practical question, what do I really need? We've got lots of needs. What's the priority right now? And I would respectfully suggest it is making sure you have absolutely clear safety corridors and absolutely safe, free space available, accessible space to your electrical panel and around any heat source. That's the basic. 2 entrance and egress routes, absolutely free and clear, minimum of 33 to 36 inches with piles no higher than hopefully your knees or hips. All right, certainly not high enough that it can topple on you. That's the basic. Go to Hoarding, the Hoarding book, Conquer the Clutter. Look at the pictures of the different levels of risk. That's the priority. Safety first. So am I meeting the real need? If the answer is a simple yes or no, the answer is always a simple yes or no. Okay, don't overthink it. Move on to better decisions. I use my head to ask the practical question. I use my heart to know that it fits for me. Okay. So then what? So you've made this decision, then what? Then I act on it. I act on it starting, if the only thing I can give it because of the amount of steam and energy I have, or like clear thought, ability to focus is 15 minutes, then that's what I do. All right. So another thing to ask yourself is in this yes, no, this is the verify it part. Am I telling myself the truth? Does it feel right? What would I do if I wasn't afraid? Write that question down. I want all of you asking that question. Or what would I do? What would I decide if I wasn't so overwhelmed? Or you can substitute overwhelmed in there too. All right. I want you folks, I want you to ask yourself that question every single day this week. All right. And then I want you to write down your answers every single day. They may be different one day to the next. All right. Bring that back to next week's podcast. Or go on hoarding.ca. We should really get some kind of a billboard there where people can post things. Jim, that's a great idea. Let's do that. All right. So stay tuned. Jim and I are going to work on that. What would I do if I deserved better? If I really believed I deserve better. So here is what we're going to be talking about next week. Will I ever be good enough? Because if you don't believe it, if you don't have some faith that even if you're not at that point right now, it could be true that you do deserve better. You want to deserve better. All right. That's a really important question. If I say, yes, I do deserve better, then I proceed. If I say, what would I do if I deserve better? Is it this option and I have to say no? Maybe I don't have quite enough information. Now, there is a time limit on that. If that becomes a method to avoid, okay, it's patterns, right? This no, I don't have the information to do that, and now I need to rethink. If that becomes a pattern that immobilizes you, let's you and I have a different discussion, okay? But whether you have all the information or not, right now, what is my better decision? In the absence of ideal, best, perfect, right now I can act in some tiny way, okay, on what is my better decision. All right. So I wanted to give you a taste of the fact that there's great information. That was my purpose in bringing these other experts and adding them to our work on hoarding so that you can see hoarding is a a very rich, complex behavior. And I wanted you to realize there's great information out there to help you map the decisions that you want, feel, and believe you need to make to move forward, to take back your life when your things are taking over or have taken over. So remember, the answer is a simple yes or no. Okay? What do I need? Is this it, and do I have enough information? Have I thought it through to a better decision? So I hope many of you will access this book in whatever way you can, and use it as a reference guide. All right? It's simple, elegant, and it's practical. These strategies actually can guide you to putting your hands on one thing at a time, together, of course, together with Conquer the Clutter, and all of the information, tools, and resources in that. So let's open up the chat box and see where we are. All right. Jim, where's my chat box? Okay, we have a few questions here. There we are. All right. Let's go back up. Okay. Lisa says, nice white blouse. Thank you. It's not new. There's that word again, tyranny. Oh, Tammy, it's so true. It's like a tyrant. When you won't make yourself comfortable with anything less than what cannot possibly have any downside to it. It's the perfect ideal. All right, we've been taught that. All right, you've been taught that. And it is a tyrant. It's like you can never make that tyrant happy. You can never satisfy that tyrant. All right. All right. Here we are here. Okay. Good morning, Silver. Elaine. Okay. Do not read this out loud. I will come back to that then. Maureen, to everyone, thank you so much for helping reprogram my thought process. The support from all of you, not just me, everybody else showing up too, really validates for every single one of you that while this is not a great place to be in your life right now, feeling stuck and overwhelmed, it's a very human spot to be. All right. And you're not broken, damaged, like crazy, mentally ill people. That's not what this is. All right. It does become a mental health disorder. I'm not going to lie to you. Okay. But it can start with very human conditions. So the three paths, just remember, the three paths are, there can be a genetic, in some people, there can be a genetic component. We do know that in certain types of hoarding, there can be markers in common right on the DNA, right on the chromosomes. Doesn't mean that's true for every one of you. So there are familial patterns of inheritance. That can be true. Not necessarily true for everybody, but it's not your destiny just because that happened. We all inherit our neurology. We all inherit so much that's sitting on our DNA that puts us at risk. We are the architects of how much of that has to play out in our life. And this group of people who come every week, so many of you, what have we got? 52 people today, okay? All right. And a lot of other people who are going to check in online because this isn't a good time slot for them. Just know that you're in very good company, and really, truly, I'm not just saying it, some of the loveliest, nicest people I've ever met have come through quite significant hoarding situations. All right, okay. That's okay if she's got to leave early. We'll see you again next week, Marie. Okay. All right. Yeah, a posting board. That's actually a really good idea, Jim. Let's look at that. Okay. Linda, to everyone, thank you for your help. I'm feeling grateful and more hopeful to conquer the obstacles of different sorts. Stay well and safe, particularly during this lockdown. Please, people, no matter where you are, I don't care what country you're in, nobody okay? Nobody except New Zealand is doing really well, all right? Take no, oh, and I'm sorry, PEI, what do you got, 5 cases there in the whole island of PEI? Okay, I take it back. These islands, they're just sort of ideal little sanctuaries. All that to say, please don't take any chances. All right, we're coming out of all of the poor decisions that so many people other than us made over the holidays. All right. And this is the net effect of it. We all have to pay the price, but please don't take any chances. All right. There's nothing that is important enough to do that. All right. Yes, you're absolutely right, Suzanne. This information is very helpful for the future. It really is. And marry it with the book, okay? Marry it with the book, Conquer the Clutter, because the two fit really, really well. Okay, I find I'm good at making decisions, but my panic attacks tend to get in the way. They're such a nuisance. It's true. The fear of sometimes making the wrong decision, right? That I will regret. I regret having to give up the dressing table. You have to see it. I regret giving it up, but that didn't stop me, all right? Because I knew it was the right decision. I find that I can't get as much done as I'd like. Well, that's true for all of us. Do you think this is common? I think it's very common. Gwen, start with 15 minutes, set a timer, make yourself do it. I would suggest, if you can, do the activity, whatever the task is that you least want to do it first in the day after you've had breakfast, had a coffee or tea, and then the thing you least want to do, get it out of the way. All right. 15 minutes a day to start. Set that timer. It's not 16 minutes. It's not 14 minutes. When that timer goes off, you're out of jail. All right. And for other people who have been doing that longer, you can add segments of 15 minutes. You're going to know when you're not keeping up. All right. But that first one's like the Bible. These sessions help me to keep good. I'm glad, Hélène, with her 15 minutes sorting and reflecting on the needs, your needs. Getting my pile sorted and putting items in their home, yes, in their permanent places, helps me to control my buying. You know why it helps you control your buying? Because you can actually see the full complement of what you have of that type of thing. And just as important, when things get put in or as close to the permanent place they belong in your home, hopefully no more than 3 to 4 steps from where you actually would use them. All right. You can see how much demand you're making of that space and how much space you actually potentially have for any other bright and shiny things of a kind that are going to tempt you this week. All right. Available space also dictates. That's what dictated for the dressing table and the dining room table. Okay? Available space dictates. If it isn't there and you can't make it happen in a safe, functional way, there may be a big decision to make. All right, we're here to help you make it if you have to. All right. Crystal, I've not been doing my 15 minutes a day as I thought I would or could. I spent over an hour on my storage room over a week ago, and then, that's what happens. All right. Thank you so much for saying that, Crystal, for being that honest. Because people, that's what happens. All right. You overdo it according to how much steam you have in the tank physically or mentally, your ability to focus. You've created a drudgery that you associate with it. You're not going back there. You're not going back there to do that again. That becomes a wall. Stick to the 15 minutes. Even if you go to your storage unit and you just do 15 minutes. All right. I don't care if it takes you 20 minutes to get there. All right. 15 minutes. when you have that kind of relapse. Okay. But put the decluttering, on the back burner. I know, improvements in my life, but not really sure why, because you made it a drudge. Crystal. Okay. If you don't have an hour, that's like, I want you to realize, people, what's a better analogy? All right, you go in and you see something that really catches your eye, and you don't, well, you need something like that, all right? But this thing is like all the money you've got in the bank and your next paycheck, right? That's what it costs, which is extending yourself beyond your limit, a limit you can return to. That's what it is. And so you just think, oh, I just have to have that. I'm here, I have to have it, because it's like I'm here at the storage unit, and I come all this way and there's all this to do and I really need to do it, and you talk yourself into it and you overdo it. You go to the store, you see this wonderful thing, and you spend all the money you've got in your bank and your next paycheck, and you don't happen to have a credit card. Okay, we just say for argument's sake, you don't have a credit card. You bring it home. You bring yourself home after overextending this, and you look at the day-to-day stuff. Now, day-to-day, when you've extended your budget, all the money in the bank and your next paycheck, sometime during the next little while, you're going to need food. Your hydro bill's going to come in, and your rent's going to come due, or your mortgage is going to come due. You're not going to have it because you gave it away. That's why. Don't do that. Okay? I know 15 minutes a day feels like nothing, but you would be surprised at what you can accomplish 15 minutes every single day. If going to the storage unit is going to make you feel guilty and make you feel like you should do it, just for now, don't go to the storage unit. Stick with building that habit. That self-regulation is the key to winning. Okay. Suzanne, it's just that some decisions I've made I can't let go of and keep beating myself over and over again. So depending on, there's no absolute answer to that one, Suzanne. If you murdered somebody, you should regret that one forever. But if this is sort of day to day, you worked with the best information, start using this process. Okay, it will help you make better decisions. You'll have less to regret. Have you learned from it? Okay. When I make a mistake, all right, I tell myself there's an endless list of mistakes to make in life, Elaine. I just try to commit myself to not making the same one twice and not repeating it. But tomorrow will be another opportunity to make a mistake. Did I learn from it? That's the most important thing. And it has to, Suzanne, it has to be more than to beat myself up. So you're battered and bruised now, physically, emotionally, confidence-wise. How's that going to get you ready for what you have to do today? Be gentle with yourself. Forgive yourself. Be humble. Are you beating yourself up, or is the committee in your head beating you up? What's that about? All right, and how do you turn the volume down on that? If you have still been doing that, then I'm going to ask you this week, your homework, Suzanne, is to rethink that and make a list of what you learned from those mistakes and how, with the rest of the life you've been given, you can avoid, to the best of your ability, making them again. And What wisdom, what experience, what humility, what kindness, what gentleness do you have to offer others who probably have done exactly the same thing and are beating themselves up? This is not a free pass. This is not a free hall pass. Or you hold yourself responsible for if you've hurt yourself or anybody else. You hold yourself responsible for that. You take responsibility. But there is no point in battering yourself about it. Not because it's pointless, simply because there's a lesson to be learned. If you were sent that experience and you didn't do well enough with it, and you're still telling yourself that, what did you learn from it? Okay. What can you now learn from it? Is there some way you need to go back? If you hurt other people, you need to go back and make amends. All right, do it. This is not a free hall pass, a get out of jail card. This is, okay, you know what? That was the best I could do that day. And we all have days and times in our lives when we make decisions and we know enough not to make them, but we do it anyway. And it is a stellar moment in our life. All right. Success eludes us by a long shot. All right. That day has passed. What is the lesson? What is the wisdom? What is the experience? What is the best positive outcome for tomorrow? All right. Okay, I'm going to have to go now, but we have some more questions. And if Jim, if you can save that chat box, then I will answer those questions. We'll start with those questions next week, and we will be working from material here. When will I ever be good enough? And maybe some of the material, maybe asking that question this week, Suzanne, is no coincidence. Okay, maybe it's because I always intended to do hoarding work, incorporating the key messages from this book next week at next week's podcast. You be gentle with yourself, please, everybody. Take no chances because most of you are in exacerbated COVID conditions. Be good to yourself, be gentle with yourself. 15 minutes a day, okay? 15 minutes a day. Okay, take care, everybody.